NewJeans originally belongs to ADOR. Although there is a lot of talk about HYBE, ADOR is technically a neighbor of HYBE, but is an independent company. The only asset of ADOR was NewJeans. But ADOR was equal to CEO Min Hee-jin, and after a conflict with HYBE's chairman Bang Si-hyuk, Min Hee-jin ended up leaving ADOR in a form of dismissal. Originally, it was a fight with Min Hee-jin, but Min Hee-jin involved NewJeans in the conflict. It's not good at all for idols to get caught up in such conflicts. So ADOR suddenly had NewJeans doing unrelated advertisements like NJZ, and as they started these activities, I, being an expert in provisional dispositions, filed for a provisional injunction to prohibit activities. More precisely, it's a provisional disposition to preserve the agency's command, meaning ADOR is NewJeans' agency, and to ensure the command is preserved, along with a provisional injunction to prohibit advertising contracts. If NewJeans members enter into advertising contracts without ADOR's involvement, it would be a breach of trust. But to prevent it from happening, a provisional injunction was filed. By the time this video is uploaded, the results might be out. As the producer said, it would be uploaded by Friday, March 23rd. In Hong Kong on Sunday, NewJeans, or rather, not NewJeans. A decision needs to be made on whether NJ can continue activities or not. So by the time this video is uploaded, the provisional injunction decision will likely be out by Friday, the 21st. The injunction will be granted. If this video is uploaded, it means I recorded it beforehand. I have court cases, and the producer has a schedule, so we recorded it in advance, but I will proceed today, assuming the injunction is granted. I will also explain the reason for this. The court doesn't release urgent decisions over the weekend, so it will likely be out by Friday. It will be granted as an injunction. If NJZ suddenly appears and performs in Hong Kong, the game is over, isn't it? And there will be no need for further discussion. Therefore, seeing the urgency, the injunction will be granted. In addition to prohibiting advertising contracts, since they are performing in Hong Kong, an injunction to prohibit independent musical activities is also included. There are many types of injunctions. Depending on the situation, when it's urgent, please don't do things like this. This is how it is submitted. Subscribers of Moon Jong-Tak TV would know that I'm an expert in injunctions, as I often talk about them. But for those watching for the first time today, let me explain. It means fundamental, as in the root cause. A hardship lawsuit is, as the name suggests, a formal trial. It involves gathering evidence, questioning witnesses, and then reaching a conclusion, with a first hearing, a second hearing. It takes a very long time until a verdict is reached. So, if they mess everything up before the main case is concluded, it becomes irreparable. Since the damage cannot be undone, let's prevent it in advance. That's why we have injunctions. Temporary. It means making a provisional decision. If NewJeans starts performing as NJZ and ignores ADOR, what good is winning the main case later? Oh my god, this is going to be a disaster. That's why an injunction is filed. The injunction was filed to prevent NewJeans from recklessly acting as NJZ, so I expect the result to be out by at least Friday the 21st, and I predict it will be granted. Why is that? On March 7th, my brother's birthday, NewJeans were involved in a case, almost at the Seoul Central District Court, Civil Division 50. The presiding judge is Kim Sang-hoon. Division 50 is where top elite judges handle cases. He is indeed the chief judge, or a senior presiding judge. Although the NewJeans members didn't need to appear since their lawyers were handling it, they all showed up. Ominously, they came dressed in black clothing. Did they have a premonition about their fate? It would have been nice if they had come dressed more brightly, but ADOR's CEO, Kim Ji-young, attended in person. What did ADOR argue during the injunction? Firstly, they likely stated that NewJeans is everything to ADOR. ADOR has invested a whopping 21 billion won in NewJeans. NewJeans claimed that ADOR was differentiating them, but that doesn't make sense. For ADOR, the only girl group, the only idol group, is NewJeans. It is reported that ADOR spent 10 billion won on NewJeans' debut album and marketing. They have invested 21 billion won to nurture them, and since they are their only asset, there's no reason to discriminate. It's common sense. Secondly, what kind of discrimination against the members? They gave 5 billion won to each member. Yes, worrying about celebrities is as futile as it gets. It's like worrying about a beggar's sincerity. Are you worried about the NewJeans members? Can you save up 5 billion won nuts in your lifetime? Yes, you can. Have dreams and hope. Now, thirdly, it's about the exclusive contract. This contract is an exclusive contract that prevents them from working elsewhere, and to terminate it, there must be a reason for termination. What would ADOR claim in the injunction? They would argue that there is no reason for termination and that they are just making a fuss. They might claim it's an unfair contract. However, as I mentioned in previous videos, if the duration of an exclusive contract in the entertainment industry is too long, it can be considered unfair. I talked about cases like TVXQ. The contract between ADOR and NewJeans was for 7 years. I don't think 7 years is excessively long for an exclusive contract. Also, if they are not given opportunities for entertainment activities, they could terminate it under such unfair conditions. However, I think even that termination would be difficult. Fourthly, ensuring the duration of an exclusive contract is essential for the K-pop market. I mentioned the importance may vary if the judge inclines S or N. Exclusive contracts are also investment contracts. This was noted on ADOR's Kim's site. Even when receiving precedence, idol contracts are not just about personal relationships in a private setting. Termination can't be unilateral. The contract can't just end. No. A party can't just quit after investing. And if it ends like that, only the investor would suffer a loss. Then who would invest in K-pop? So lastly, when NewJeans leaves NJZ, it is not the individual member's will, but tampering. What is tampering? It means illegal contact. There was illegal contact. So with whom was this illegal contact? There was an intention of breach of trust, whether it was former CEO Min or CEO Min Hee-jin going elsewhere to set up her own plan or collaborating with another plan. This has been going on for almost a year now. It became a hot topic since last spring. As evidence, this is somewhat clumsy, but it's the contract termination notice NewJeans sent to ADOR. NewJeans wouldn't write it themselves, of course. Looking at their status, they might be good at singing, but they can't draft legal documents. But the file name shows the file creator as SNK, while I am JT. That sheet intros, it shows SNK Sejong under the name of the creator from the law firm Sejong. Sejong is the legal representative for Min Hee-jin. From Min Hee-jin's side, they coaxed NewJeans to leave and sign a different contract. There was tampering, Therefore, it is an unfair and illegal contract termination. You shouldn't terminate the contract. We are the agency. This seems to be what they are claiming. Should we call them NewJeans or should we call them NJZ? Let's call them NewJeans. Since everyone calls them NewJeans, There will be a rebuttal from NewJeans, when there's a claim, there's a rebuttal. There was discrimination and misstep. But they keep talking about HYBE instead of ADOR. It's about terminating the contract with ADOR, but they claim HYBE discriminated against them compared to other girl groups. This is what they are saying. For example, HYBE's debut of NewJeans. I wish past events could be left in the past. It seems that it still remains a scar on their heart. They said HYBE's first girl group would be NewJeans, but suddenly Lee Seraphim debuted first. They are still holding a grudge. That's why there was discrimination and a misstep. That's it. Secondly, an exclusive contract should be based on trust, but that trust was broken. I believe that NewJeans caused that breach of trust, as they seem to be discarding the new and starting afresh in something like HYBE Weekly. This is about discarding NewJeans and starting anew. That's why the trust relationship was broken. Sun Hee-taek made this claim. Thirdly, this is actually the core issue. NewJeans needs independence to work with former CEO Min Hee-jin. This is the claim being made. So, at that time, suddenly 5 people appeared on YouTube with disheveled faces saying, "Give us back our mom. Give us back CEO Min Hee-jin. Otherwise, we'll quit." That's what they said. They want to follow their mom. Since Min Hee-jin was dismissed from the position of CEO at ADOR, they want to follow Min Hee-jin, so they are terminating their exclusive contract with you. That's it. To summarize the issues, the key point for the judge to consider is this. There are about 3 main points. The first being, did ADOR violate the exclusive contract? Or conversely, did NewJeans violate this exclusive contract? The party that violated the contract can't claim to terminate the exclusive contract, as it's against good faith. They'd have looked at who violated it. Will trust breakdown be recognized in all cases? No, it won't. Currently, NewJeans is claiming a breakdown of trust because Minji is not present. But will this be considered a breakdown of trust? This is another issue. Third, did the representative without Minji actually attempt tampering, meaning trying to take them away? Therefore, it will be important to determine whether this contract termination reflects Minji's intention or NewJeans' intention. For me, making predictions is a bit of a gamble, but when you watch this video, what's the point of making predictions and trying to get them right? Therefore, when watching this video, you should be curious about the future and watch it knowing the outcome, so let's assume the prediction was correct, and I will explain the reason for the prediction. Can the exclusion and discrimination claimed by NewJeans be proven? Could this be a counter-argument? I find it difficult to see it that way. ADO gave each NewJeans member 5 billion won. They settled the account. If they hadn't settled and had a slave contract, it would have been terminated. They invested 21 billion won. They invested everything with capital. So, to put it simply, they brought NewJeans from the beginning, trained them, and made them stars, and now they want to betray them? If the court allows NewJeans to break the trust relationship and leave like this, saying NJG do as you please, then Kpop would be in ruins. After investing and nurturing them, the trust relationship is over. This scene might be about leaving, but it can also be seen as them returning to ADOR, which is within my domain. Why do we see it as them returning? Does it end when they return? No, ADOR's only asset is NewJeans, so they need to make money by doing things like shooting commercials and performing, right? Therefore, this injunction is not the usual type that celebrities file when they want to terminate an exclusive contract, which is to suspend the effect of the contract. It's not an injunction saying, this contract is invalid, so we're not doing this here. Instead, it's the opposite, where ADOR is requesting an injunction against NewJeans, asserting that the contract is valid and thus preventing them from acting independently. This is a normal injunction so that the main case can be contested, right? Therefore, unlike the usual cases where celebrities ask the court to consider the contract as ended, this is about acknowledging the existing contract. As a result, it seems more likely that the court will side with ADOR. If my prediction is wrong, feel free to comment on the video saying, "Oh, you were wrong," and have a laugh about it. However, if I'm right, please acknowledge it. I'm amazed by Pham Nai, a Vietnamese girl, who is part of a Korean group, singing Japanese songs in Japan. Is it Matsuda Seiko's Blue Coral Reef? Isn't it impressive? So this was said to be moving for Asia. But as a Korean, I feel a bit embarrassed. Especially during the National Assembly audit, someone like Pham Nhi isn't just a worker. Did the Vietnamese girl from 55 Bulguk come out and greet or not? They said to ignore such things and focus on the audit. On the street near ADOR, they showed on CCTV the members of Island bowing 90 degrees to NewJeans and a member named Danielle. Yes. Actually, since they are independent labels, can't they just ignore each other? I don't understand why, in foreign multinational settings, there's such a strong hierarchical culture. Can't they just ignore people who are resting? They said, even when they greet, they ignore. And it became a national issue. It was like a comedy, right? From a common sense perspective, if they help NewJeans grow and debut, shouldn't they be grateful instead of being dissatisfied and betraying them? ADOR signed an exclusive contract. And NewJeans is ADOR's only idol group. So what kind of discrimination are they talking about? In the end, although it's a bit awkward to say this, who suffered the most from the conflict between Min Hee-jin and ADOR HYBE? With the young members of NewJeans getting involved. Yes, it's NewJeans. So, in my video, last year, I mentioned that although they are idols, they are getting caught up in it. I advised them not to get involved in legal disputes and not to stand at the forefront. I said this, but they ended up wearing black clothes and going to court. If the injunction is granted and they asked if they would do it in Hong Kong, wouldn't they have to do whatever is possible?
글쎄요, 가능하다면 저희는 계획한 건 계획대로 진행할 예정입니다.
Talk as if they are so smart, but to put it nicely, they are naive, and to put it bluntly, they seem to be acting without knowing the law or anything else, just following along. So, the sense of mystery disappears, and people's affection for NewJeans gradually turns into aversion. The injunction must have been granted, right? Assuming it was granted, it has become difficult for them to perform under the name NewJeans NJ. If they perform in Hong Kong on the 23rd, for example, they will likely face significant fines as an indirect compulsion. I'm not sure how much it would be, though. Having lost the injunction, it will be even harder to win the main lawsuit. Because of this, it has become even more difficult for NewJeans to win the main lawsuit, so now they might need to distance themselves somewhat from Minizen and, separate. According to the law, they could consider bringing in a new producer or involve Minizen as a creative producer in a way that doesn't involve extreme measures like contract termination. However, given Minizen's personality, they probably wouldn't do that. When Eunice Minji was asked what they would do if the injunction was granted, they said, if possible, we plan to proceed with the contract as planned. Then, why file for this injunction? Why go through a trial? We don't know how much the indirect compulsory fine or penalty will be, but there might be a strategy to ignore it and proceed in Hong Kong. The more that happens, the more it will be called into question in the main case, and the more the damages will increase. As I said before, young people age, and when they age, they die. I remember this being said by Lee Yer-yong, a distinguished scholar of Korea. But this is something that everyone knows, not just a distinguished scholar. Why is youth beautiful? Youth is beautiful because it is fleeting. Spring will come briefly, but it is short, and soon summer will arrive. Isn't spring beautiful because winter is long? Spring is beautiful because it is short. Youth is the same, right? Why is there such a strong backlash against NewJeans ILET? Is ILET younger than NewJeans? They are newer, right? Young idols keep emerging. How long will NewJeans remain new? They will become old jeans. Regarding CEO Min Hee-jin, I think of loyalty, but have you seen Solomon's Choice? When asked to split the child in half, the real mother gave up the child, while the fake mother agreed to split it. There is an exclusive contract, but breaking NewJeans' exclusive contract, making them pay a huge penalty, damaging their image, and trying to take them away. Is that what a real mother would do? What do you all think? Was it granted? If the injunction was granted, and it was decided that NewJeans NJZ should not be active, please give a lot of likes, subscribe, set the Tasu alarm, and share it widely with others. And not only did I predict the granting, but I also foresaw NewJeans' future. They lost the injunction for the exclusive contract by following Minijin, and if they push forward with NJZ, they might face huge compensation and even ruin the country. So I hope they negotiate well, express gratitude rather than dissatisfaction, and find the best they can do in the current situation. I wish they meet a good producer, release a great new song, and emerge as an impressive NewJeans. What do you hope for the future of NewJeans? Please leave a lot of comments. Please share widely. This has been Moon Jong-Tak from Moon Jong-Tak TV. Thank you.